And you see so many people getting caught up with that. And I think even when you draw it back to SEO, and we always try and say with SEO, you have to first know what it is. And you even said it right from the outset. It depends on what your objective is. You need to have that objective very clearly defined, and then it's much easier to design that strategy. Like you've had a lot of experience in, various areas of online marketing and had quite a few years online as well. If you looked back over your career and tried to identify it, I suppose it's that classic question, if you knew what you knew now, where would you identify like the really big leverage points, the points where you made some massive steps forward? And so, like, people can try and target those and getting those things in place.
Well, I think, I guess first off, before I ever got into internet marketing, I spent about 10 years in corporate marketing. So I knew the basics of marketing to start with, which is quite a bit different than if you're coming into marketing online and you don't know anything about marketing to start with. And so I would say, first thing is know something about marketing. There are just basic concepts. You have to understand just how important elements of the offer are. You have to understand how important price is to making something successful. And so you really need to understand something about basic marketing and basic salesmanship before you really are going to be comfortable doing stuff on the internet, because the internet is almost like corporate marketing taken to the Wild West. I mean, it changes very fast. To somebody new who knows nothing about marketing, it can seem to be completely chaotic. And so getting a sort of an underlying grounding in just marketing first is a pretty good thing to do. And I would say that's one big leverage point, at least for me. The second piece was just trying to figure out how to take that stuff and adapt it to be online. So a lot of stuff that I was doing in 2004, 2005 was just trying to figure out, all right, are these blogs worth anything, right?
Yeah.
People weren't using blogs back in 2004, 2005. So I generally, the leverage point is, to me, again, focus. Trying to figure out what to pay attention to versus what not to pay attention to. The way that I find that is easiest to do that online is find somebody who's a well-known name that you identify with and trust. All right, so, I mean, if you can identify with an Ed, follow an Ed. If you can identify with, let's pick another big name, a John Reese, then follow a John Reese. Don't try and follow too many people. Just try and figure out who you identify with in that, you can understand their point of view and allow them to steer you to the things that appear to be important at this time in the market. Because I said it can be really chaotic if you lack focus. I guess, the other thing is just getting up off my butt and doing it. At one point, I just made the decision that, I was going to pick a product and promote the hell out of it until it sold, and I did. And it was just, the first thing I tried didn't work, the second thing I tried didn't work, the third thing I tried worked a little bit, the fourth thing I tried worked better, and by the fifth thing I tried, it sold. So it's just simply a matter of putting your head to saying, I'm going to do this no matter what obstacle I hit. That's the biggest leverage point, is just persistence. So the three things I would say is get a little bit of grounding in basic marketing, focus by, picking one or two names that you trust and following them and letting them advise you, whether it be through Twitter or their emails or whatever. And then the third is just decide one day that you are going to pick something and market it until it makes money. Because once you make, the whole goal of the 30-day challenge is for you to make your first dollar, right? It wasn't for you to, retire. And that's the whole point. You have to understand the process here so that you can make that first dollar. Once you understand the process, then you can scale it. The internet, it's just as easy to sell 100 of something as it is to sell one of something. You have to get past all those hurdle points of just figuring out how to get that first thing sold by marketing it. And once you do that, it'll click in your head. All of a sudden, it'll be clear, and then you'll have a lot greater understanding of, all right, what's my next step after this.
One thing, and you mentioned a few steps along the way, like with the CPA Ninja and even WordPress direct aligning with Ed Dale. Like, I think looking at your career as well, there seems to be like aligning yourself with the right people and then doing the JVs. I'm just interested to sort of find out how you approach that and how you see that as a leverage point.
Well, the relationship with Ed was interesting. The WordPress Direct was an interesting endeavor because I actually met Ed through StomperNet years ago. Ed was on the faculty of StomperNet. I was a StomperNet member. It was back in 2006, and I think it was very end of 2006, whenever they first launched, and so I got to meet Ed a couple times at just those meetings and had a chance to talk to him. But and I can't stress this enough. In the online world where everybody's sitting by themselves at their computer, it's so important to go to an event and actually meet people. There's nothing like it for actually talking to somebody face to face and forming a real connection with them. You can follow up with them on Twitter for the next 6 months, but it's such a difference when you actually meet them and you can exchange some real communication with people. So I have always sort of made a habit of going to a couple events a year just so I can run into people in the market, other marketers, and connect with them and talk to them. And, it's changed now where lots of people come up to me at these events because they've seen my videos and they want to talk to me. But it wasn't always like that, right? I would have to walk up to people and introduce myself and talk to them. And that's the other thing about just persistence. If you want to start getting yourself to the point where you're going to be able to propose a joint venture to somebody, well, the first step is you have to meet them. And so I think going to events, meeting people, getting your name out there is the first step. Honestly, WordPress Direct started out as an internal project that I was doing because I knew software development and I had programmers to build my own internal blog network. And it wasn't expected actually to be sold as a service. It was just through my discussions with Ed where he realized that one of the things as the 30-day challenge evolved that they needed was a tool that would build sites that was really easy to use and fast that would get people ranked. And, there's a couple different methods they explored doing that, whether it be through these like social sites or whether it be through blogs. And they arrived on doing it through blogs. And because Ed was speaking to me about the things that I was doing internally with this tool, one thing led to another to the point where the tool got put into the 30-day challenge. But these things never happen just because, a bolt of lightning hits you and then all of a sudden somebody calls you up and says, let's do a deal. Deals evolve over time. The first step to doing a deal is you have to at least be present. Showing up is half the battle. Go to an event and meet people. And once you've met people at a few events, then you'll start corresponding with them, and over time you get to the point where you can actually provide something of value. The only reason WordPress Direct ever got put in the 30-day challenge was it solved a problem for the 30-day challenge. Ed was looking to do something, and he needed a tool that did a certain thing, and we ended up where we were developing that tool. So, happy accidents happen to those who are prepared. They say there's no such thing as luck. It's just, planning. Well, it's a bit of both.